What's up, guys? Brad here from Piney Grove, and if you've ever had a tractor or any kind of implement that goes on a tractor, you know you're going to spend some time fixing it. And when I was greasing this Summit finish mower, and this is a 5-foot finish mower made by King Cutter for Summit, I noticed that the belt was a little cracked. It didn't have any chunks or anything out of it, but it did have quite a few cracks in it. And I thought maybe it would get through the season. Well, last week I was mowing, and after I was done mowing, I went to grease it up. I took off the cover. So what I noticed were cracks like that. And they were like every foot or so, which is fine. You can probably get through 1 or 2 seasons like that. But the last time I greased it, that's what I found. Big chunks missing out of it, and in several places too. And again, if you're familiar with tractors and equipment, it's going to fail when you need it the most. And I was done mowing. I got some time in between the next time I have to mow. So it's better to go ahead and fix it now. So I ordered it. Was able to go and get the part number directly off of King Cutter's website. I ordered from Amazon an OEM belt. So it's the belt should be made by King Cutter. At least that's what they led me to believe on Amazon anyway. Now I've changed a few of these belts in my day. And usually they have an idler pulley. And you pull that idler pulley to make the belt loose, and the belt comes off. But this one was a little bit more complicated. It's underneath the plastic cover here, which is real easy to get to. And then you have the arms that hold up the finish mower, which I've taken off. They attach right here with these bolts, and it's got they're laying back there, still attached to the front part of the hitch. But you actually have to kind of take the gearbox off because this belt is trapped on the main drive pulley. So all this stuff is kind of intuitive to me because I grew up on a farm, but you can just see right here, you get all the rest of this stuff off and you cannot slip that belt up underneath this big pulley here. So it's just 4 bolts. You loosen up the bolts here, and these have elongated holes in it, and then you just swivel this up and out of the way. And once it's up and out of the way, you can pull out the belt. And even if you could have got the belt under here, you see where this shaft goes into this hole. There was no way to get this belt out without lifting up that gearbox. But they did engineer it so that you don't have to take out the bolts all the way, and you can just tilt it up like this. So I'm going to go ahead and start the new belt under here, get that down, and then the process is pretty straightforward after that. So here's the new belt, and I checked it against the old one as far as length, and the new belt actually seems like it's a hair longer than the old one, and the old one should be stretched. So hopefully the adjusters and everything take up any slack or any extra slack, but this will just go around that big pulley like this, and then we'll pull that gearbox down. I think that's the hardest part right there. I think the rest of it's going to be fairly easy. It's still an erector set with a bunch of bolt tightening and everything, but kind of the technical part is done, getting that on there. And anything that has a belt is going to have a diagram, or at least it started out from the factory with a diagram. This is new enough that it still exists, and it's actually under the cover so it doesn't get sun faded. So I can just look at this and tell how the pulleys go, and just kind of follow the diagram around here to all the pulleys. This one goes over here to the idler, and then it loops back around to this one. There we go. The belt is on, and you can tell the belt, like there's a V-groove here for the front side of the belt or the inside of the belt, and then the back side of the belt, the pulleys will be more flat. They won't have a V-groove. This is my spring tensioner. And what this does here is this makes up for your belt length if it's a little too long. So on this one, you want this to take up as much belt length as possible, because you can see this tensioner right here. Even if I did that fully tight, that belt's not getting very tight. So I need this to be pushed way that way. If I'm being honest right now, I really think this belt might be too long. I'm going to go ahead and put this idler spring on while I still can. Just kind of figure it out as I go, but if it's too long, then it just won't tighten up. So to take out a lot of that slack, I'll just keep turning this. It's 9/16 nut on it. And that'll push that way, but it also will take up some of the tension of the spring. So I'm just real interested on how this is going to work. All right, I've got this jam nut pushing against this bracket and pushing that pulley that way, and you're going to see the belt start to tighten up, and we'll see if it tightens up the belt and pulls that idler away. And I'll tell you when it's where it was when I took it off, because I can see the rust marks in this adjustment rod right here. So with the worn belt, we were right about here. So that tells me that the old belt was smaller than this one right there, because the old belt should have been stretched, and that's as far as that adjustment was when I started this process. It's not the right belt. It can't be. But we might be able to make it work. We'll just keep pushing this pulley that way until it tightens up the belt. We got plenty of adjustment left here. Thing is as that goes that way, it's also pushing the spring attachment point that way. So this has to take up more belt than this spring can pull back on. So it's going to be close, I think. There it goes. It's starting to move that spring right now. Starting to move that out. So that's telling me we might be able to get there with this adjustment. And I had to loosen this up. This goes into the deck underneath, so I actually had to use a 15/16 and a socket and reach under there and loosen that up. I'll have to retighten that once I get the proper tension. And that's riding in a slot. You can see that's holding a little tension on there, but still probably should go some more. And that means there's not a lot of adjustment left. This belt wears and gets hot and gets longer, which it's going to do. It's going to stretch. I think that's a good tension right there. You don't want it too tight, because if your blades or your spindles hit something, you want the belt to slip a little bit on the pulleys. You don't want it to slip, under load with grass, but if it hits something that doesn't move, you'd rather have these spindles slip than the belt to be ultra tight and just drive whatever you have through a rock or a old broke off fence post or something and mess up your spindles. Because your expense on a mower, I mean, the gearbox probably lasts forever, but your expense is typically going to be your spindles when they need replacing. So you want to protect them. But I think we got good tension. You can see when I pull on this, that tensioner moves. I've got a little bit of adjustment left. I don't know how wide this slot is up underneath here for that pulley. But now I got to tighten that up. Tighten up these two nuts. Tighten up that bolt. Put the cover on it. And it should be ready to mow. I'm going to go ahead and put the arms back on it, and that way I can lift it up with the tractor so I can get underneath it to tighten up that one bolt. One thing I've learned over the years, especially with moving metal parts, is they're always trying to pinch your fingers. This equipment's always trying to hurt you. So I think we put the bushing on, then we put this arm over top of that bolt, and that's right on that bushing. Then a big flat washer, and then a lock nut with the rounded edge out. Looking at the paint, looks like these go on the inside. Luckily I just bought these large queso man large sockets off of Amazon a few weeks ago, just because I've never had a set of sockets this big, and they came in handy because it was bigger than anything I have. I think the biggest that I had before I bought this set was like 1 1/16, and that's 1 1/8, so that was 1/16 bigger than what I had. Another tool I picked up recently was this, I call it a spud wrench, but it's an adjustable wrench with a tapered end on it. And it's for putting together metal buildings and to line up holes with this end. And I've never had one before, but I thought it'd be useful. And I can't count how many times I've used this end of the wrench, especially when lining up 3-point hitch equipment. That fought the whole way. That one didn't want to get tightened. The threads aren't stripped, but it was stubborn. so that can move in there because it's on that bushing, but that bolt's nice and tight. Go ahead and put the gearbox bolts and nuts on. Can't believe how much power these modern tools have. And this is a small battery, 2 amp hour battery on this DeWalt. 1/2 inch drive impact, brushless, and it's a phenomenal tool. All right, that's all together. All right, the last one I need to tighten up is this pulley that holds the tension. I'm looking at the slot that it's in, and it's pretty much at the max travel of its slot, so I got lucky. That belt is almost too long. All right, it's all buttoned up. Let's go see if it'll mow now. I don't like hooking up any 3-point equipment, but the good thing about a finish mower is that it's on wheels, so it actually can be moved by hand fairly easily. One thing I learned about the Summit tractor is that it's got a mid-mount PTO. So you not only have a PTO in the back, but you have one in the front or in the middle of the tractor to drive like a snowblower or a mid-mount mower. And if you put it in the mid-mount position, you can turn the PTO on the tractor to line up the spines. So now I just take this lever and push it to mid, and that disengages the rear PTO, and then when I'm ready to mow, I just push that back to the rear PTO and turn on the PTO. Have to give credit to my good friend Lucas Peak over at Peak Hobby Homestead, because I was complaining about not being able to line up the PTO shaft, and he said, put it in neutral. And I go, neutral? It's just PTO is on and off. He goes, doesn't that have a mid-mount? And I never thought about it. Put it in the mid-mount one, and good to go. Leave a comment. Is this what you do? That's what I do. A swift kick. All right, I got to start up the tractor to lift up the 3-point hitch, and this thing will be hooked up. By lifting that up, I didn't have to adjust my top link too much. Just a couple turns. All right, we're all set. Let's go mow a little bit. I'm not allowed to mow what's already been mowed because that's for Geb in the 0 turn, and that's for hay. So I'm very limited on where I can mow with the finish mower. I'm just going to go down the side of the pasture. Guys, that was a fairly straightforward, quick fix. It's something I've been dreading. Not so much because I knew it would be hard, but because it's hot and humid here in North Florida. But it's doing a great job. It's cutting real good, and that belt is tracking well. I've been watching it. But leave a comment down below. Do you guys like to mow? Because as soon as I got the belt done, the first thing I wanted to do was mow. And I came out here and string trimmed all around the orchard the other day, but it left everything long where I didn't string trim. So I'm gonna tidy that up real quick. So that's gonna wrap up today's video. We sure appreciate you watching. If you would, click that like button. Also consider subscribing. And if you aren't already, what are you waiting for? It's 100% free. But until next time, y'all take care out there. And remember, life's short, tractor hard, and check out these 2 videos right here. They're totally awesome.